Ego's leftovers on Earth. Guardians Volume 2 shows Ego activating seedlings he planted on various worlds, including a giant glowing blue blob consuming everything in Missouri. Ego's defeat causes the expansion to stop, but the film doesn't show the blob disappearing. So what happened to that massive alien goo on Earth? The movie moves on without answering. The reasonable inference is that when Ego's brain was destroyed, all extensions of his being dissolved into dust, just like his humanoid form disintegrated. But the lack of on-screen resolution creates a minor plot hole. People in Missouri witnessed and were presumably traumatized by a sentient blob destroying their town in 2014. Yet later, Earth-set stories ignore this completely. By all logic, this should have been a massive incident requiring S.H.I.E.L.D. cleanup and government investigation. But the MCU treats Ego's failed expansion as a complete non-event. It's a loose end that highlights how some films wrap up their immediate conflict, but leave the wider world aftermath to imagination. Dreams as gateways. Multiverse of Madness introduces new lore. Dreams aren't imagination, but actual windows into the lives of multiversal variants. As Strange explains, dreams are windows into the lives of our multiversal selves. Cool concept, but it retroactively transforms every dream any MCU character has ever had into a glimpse of another universe. Take Tony Stark's nightmare in Age of Ultron, or any other dream sequence. Are those supposed to be other universes? Likely not, since Wanda's powers induced that vision. Not all dreams fit this new rule, but the film never clarifies which dreams count. The concept is so sweeping, it's hard to believe characters never noticed before. If Peter Parker dreams of swinging through purple skies, is there really a universe where that's happening at that exact moment? The film uses this mostly as a plot device for America Chavez's origin, but doesn't address logical implications. Until the MCU revisits or limits this concept, dreams as multiverse POV remains an open-ended rule that awkwardly fits into the existing narrative. Hulk's motivations. After Age of Ultron, Bruce Banner flies off in a Quinjet, driven by guilt and fear of hurting people. He reappears in Ragnarok. Then Infinity War sets up this huge internal conflict. Hulk refuses to come out after getting beaten by Thanos. Perfect setup for character growth, right? Nope. By Endgame, Banner has inexplicably merged with Hulk off-camera to become Professor Hulk, essentially killing off the Raging Hulk persona without any resolution. The film treats it like a joke, Bruce in a diner explaining he spent 18 months in a gamma lab, combining the best of both worlds. The teased internal battle from Infinity War just vanishes. No cathartic moment, no on-screen struggle, no payoff for the reluctance to fight. Hulk's entire character arc got resolved in a time skip montage we never see, because apparently watching Bruce work through decades of trauma wasn't as important as another time heist planning scene. Kree-Skrull Wars. Captain Marvel reveals a millennia-long war between the Kree Empire and the Skrulls, with the Kree nearly exterminating the Skrulls and destroying their homeworld, Skrullos. Carol helps Skrull refugees escape and promises to find them a new home, effectively ending one chapter of the conflict. But the movie never explains if the actual war ends. Decades later in Secret Invasion and Far From Home, Skrulls are still hiding from Kree pursuit, implying the war continued off-screen. After thousands of years of fighting, the MCU provides zero clarity about whether peace was ever reached. The conflict's parameters remain completely vague. Is the war over? Was there a treaty? Are Kree still actively hunting Skrulls across the galaxy? The MCU introduced an epic cosmic war as crucial backstory, then forgot to mention whether it actually resolved or just became a permanent background detail nobody talks about. Quicksilver's death. Pietro Maximoff moves faster than bullets throughout Age of Ultron, easily dodging and outrunning gunfire in multiple scenes. Then in the final battle, he dies, shielding Hawkeye and a child from bullets. Bullets he should have easily avoided with his established speed. The scene plays as heroic sacrifice, but it raises the obvious question. Why not use super speed to move Hawkeye out of danger, instead of standing there tanking bullets? His power specifically allows him to dodge attacks at incredible speeds, yet the script forces him to fail at exactly that. The prevailing theory is Quicksilver's death was a narrative decision. The MCU only needed one Maximoff twin long-term, possibly due to rights issues with Fox owning the X-Men. So they killed off a speedster using the one thing he should never be vulnerable to: regular bullets moving at regular speed. If you're enjoying these MCU inconsistencies, hitting subscribe helps us keep digging into the plot holes that somehow slip through. We've got more coming. The Darkhold's rules. WandaVision ends with Wanda accepting her grief, letting go of her magical family, and studying the Darkhold to understand her powers. Redemption arc complete, right? Then, Multiverse of Madness happens. Wanda's now a full-blown villain corrupted by the Darkhold, obsessively trying to kidnap children from another universe. The film tells us the Darkhold corrupts everything it touches, but never shows this corruption happening. Aside from black fingertips and one line from Strange, Wanda seems coldly logical and deliberate. She knows exactly what she's doing. The Darkhold's rules themselves contradict. In WandaVision, Agatha uses it for spells and prophecies without exhibiting instant corruption. In Multiverse of Madness, using it once for dreamwalking darkens Strange's fingers and triggers destruction of all copies across the multiverse. These differing rules weren't reconciled at all. The story bent continuity for plot convenience. Wanda's character and the Darkhold's nature both shifted dramatically between projects with no clear bridge explaining the transformation. Mysterio's 616 reference. In Far From Home, Mysterio spins an elaborate lie claiming he's from a parallel universe, calling Peter's world Earth 616. This number is famously the designation of the main Marvel Comics universe, while the MCU has been dubbed Earth 199999 in official materials. How would Mysterio know to call it 616? Beck was a fraud with no actual multiverse knowledge, just a disgruntled Stark Industries employee. Yet somehow he picked the one number with meta-significance. This is likely an intentional Easter egg by writers, but in story it's a head-scratcher. Was it a lucky guess? Fans have tried rationalizing it. The number 616 appears in Eric Selvig's chalkboard scribbles in Thor: Dark World. It's conceivable Beck saw that reference in S.H.I.E.L.D. or Avengers files through his work and used it to make his story credible. Of course, that's backfill explanation. The film itself doesn't explain why he chose 616. The MCU later doubled down by Multiverse of Madness, where other characters also call the MCU universe 616. How different characters arrived at the same number remains unanswered. Either a coincidence or evidence someone in-universe heard that term before. Tony's retirement. Tony's tendency to announce retirement then promptly return became a running problem. Iron Man 3 ends with Tony destroying all his suits in the Clean Slate protocol, removing the arc reactor from his chest, and effectively stepping back from superhero life. By Age of Ultron, Tony's right back in action, with a new arc reactor on his chest and leading Avengers missions. Zero explanation in film of how or why he unretired. Ultron ends with Tony leaving again. But by Civil War, he's not only back, he's leading the Avengers and spearheading the Sokovia Accords. Civil War has one line addressing this. Tony admits he destroyed suits to appease Pepper, but the truth is, I never stop working on projects. He tried to retire, but world events and his own obsessiveness pulled him back. The films don't show that transition though, making Iron Man 3's impactful ending lose weight in hindsight. Tony's multiple retirements become a continuity gap where emotional farewells get quietly undone by the next film. Super Soldier Serum. The first Avenger portrays the Super Soldier Serum as a one-of-a-kind breakthrough. Erskine's formula died with him in 1943, making Steve Rogers truly unique. Yet as the MCU expanded, multiple other Super Soldier programs appeared without acknowledging each other. The Incredible Hulk has General Ross's Biotech Force Enhancement project injecting Blonsky with a serum variant, creating another super soldier. Winter Soldier reveals Hydra stole serum in 1991, creating Bucky and a team of Winter Soldiers. Civil War shows Howard Stark was assassinated over 5 stolen vials. Falcon and Winter Soldier introduces Dr. Nagel, who perfected a new serum powering the Flag Smashers. The plot hole is the inconsistency. Early MCU emphasized the serum's lost status, but later stories added multiple successful recreations like its routine. If super soldier enhancements existed in various forms, why weren't they common knowledge or used openly? Steve Rogers no longer seems as singular as originally believed, and the MCU never addresses these discrepancies. Inconsistent birth years. The MCU keeps most biographical details consistent, but Winter Soldier's Smithsonian exhibit contains a visible error. Steve Rogers' memorial clearly states born 1918, and the Tasha's file shows born 1984, both correct and consistent. But Bucky Barnes's display shows conflicting information. The descriptive paragraph lists him as born in 1916, while the summary line at the bottom says 1917. Marvel later clarified through official sources that March 10, 1917 is Bucky's canonical birth date. This is a minor prop error, but it's actually visible on screen if you pause and read. In universe, you could blame record-keeping errors. Bucky was believed KIA and later became an assassin, so Hydra might not have kept accurate records. Or the Smithsonian just had a typo, which honestly feels more realistic than most explanations. At least Marvel confirmed it's 1917, but the on-screen inconsistency stands as a fun detail for fans to nitpick. Thor knew about Xandar. At the start of Infinity War, Thor explains to the Guardians, Thanos already has the Power Stone. He got it when he decimated Xandar a week ago. One problem, how does Thor know this? Thor was with Asgardian refugees right after Ragnarok when Thanos ambushed their ship. There's no obvious opportunity for Thor to have learned about Xandar's fall. Thanos isn't one to chat about his conquests, and Thor had been busy evacuating Asgard before that. Some speculate Heimdall might have witnessed it with his all-seeing sight and informed Thor off-screen. Or maybe Thor heard distress calls on the cosmic grapevine. The film provides no context, so it's a continuity hiccup. The Infinity War screenplay needed a quick way to inform the audience of Thanos' progress, so they had Thor deliver the exposition without explaining how he knew. One could argue Thor deduced it from seeing Thanos wield the Power Stone, but his line, "decimated Xandar," suggests certainty, not a guess. It's convenient exposition that doesn't track logically. Probably should have been Gamora's line, since she might have heard rumors. WandaVision, birth year. Even meticulously crafted WandaVision contains a continuity error. In Episode 5, Jimmy Woo verbally states Wanda and Pietro were born in 1989 in Sokovia. Moments later, he shows a classified file on screen listing Wanda's birth year as 1988. It's a blink-and-you'll-miss-it discrepancy, 1 year off in the same scene. Marvel actually acknowledged this goof humorously in their official timeline book, with Miss Minutes joking that many records were destroyed during Sokovia's conflicts. Whether Wanda is an 88 or 89 baby has no plot impact, but it's a fun example of the MCU correcting itself. The detail needs to align with Wanda being about 10 in 1999, when her parents were killed, and both years roughly work. In universe, you could imagine Jimmy making a mistake or a typo in the digital file. Miss Minutes' quip that Sokovia's documents are a mess is as good an explanation as any. Even Marvel's fake paperwork occasionally has typos, and they're willing to poke fun at themselves for it. There you have it, 12 wild plot holes that exist in the MCU. Which one bugs you most? Hulk's off-screen character arc, or the minor on-screen inconsistencies everyone forgot about? Let us know in the comments.